Folks, welcome to this webinar today. We're so happy to be here. We're here with the team with DroneSense. We're here for Safeware to give you guys a bit of an overview of what DroneSense is and just talk about some exciting things here. I'd love to give you guys an introduction for us. First, my name is Joe Kearns. I'm the Strategic Partnership Manager here, but I'll be kind of emceeing a lot of this. But I wanted to, one of the beautiful things here at DroneSense is the team here, and each of them are subject matter experts in their field and expertise and such. And in this moment, I wanted to bring in two of those top tier individuals. We have Coitt Kessler for fire, and we have Brandon Karr for law enforcement. So gentlemen, would you take a moment to introduce yourself? Coitt Kessler, please introduce yourself.
Thanks, Joe. Hi, all. My name is Coitt Kessler, and I'm a retired Austin firefighter. I was with the Austin Fire Department for almost 22 years. In that time, I guess the last 8 years of my career, I served as the Robotic Emergency Deployment Team. It's a mouthful. The Red Team's program manager, and we were using advanced technology, so it was air, ground, and water-based solutions to help do our job better. While I was doing that and being part of the Austin Fire Department, I ran into a lot of really talented people. Some of the folks that I've leaned on very heavily in my career, in my life, and one of which you're going to get to meet here in a second is Brandon Karr. Both Brandon and I have had we've had the pleasure and the responsibility for helping serve our community and our state using this advanced technology. And so when I say that, I mean, it's not only the hardware, but using the software, right? Putting it all together and pooling a large group of people together to, again, serve. The state of Texas is, as you're well aware of, is really large, and we suffer or deal with more disasters than anybody else in the U.S., which means we're able to practice a lot more and train a lot more and get together a lot more than anyone else here in the U.S. And that's something that we take a lot of pride in. It's all about the team. It's all about us coming together and helping serve each other. And that's where, again, I had the opportunity to meet Brandon Karr and be able to work with him on pulling the Texas team together to better serve our community. So Brandon, big fan of yours, bud. I'm really happy to be able to pass the mic on to you. And Joe, thanks for facilitating this.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Coitt. And yeah, my name is Brandon Karr. I started the Pearland Police Department drone program down here in the South Houston region. Integrated it across our city. We had it in GIS, communications, fire, EMS, search and rescue. We integrated it into every aspect of law enforcement, from patrol-led operations, undercover, SWAT, and even drone as first responder operations. Our program would not be where it is today if it wasn't for Coitt. He was the first guy that I reached out to way back in 2017. And I'm like, hey man, like how do I do this the right way? And he gave me a whole lot of really great advice and continues to be a massive resource for everybody across the state, no matter how much he tries to downplay it. But yeah, so we started the Gulf Coast Public Safety Unmanned Response Team down here as well, which is just a massive group of first responders that all coordinate together for any type of major incident, whether it's a search and rescue or a tornado or a hurricane, what have you. And we just kind of followed what Coitt had started up in the Central Texas area. And ran with it down here. But yeah, we've been using DroneSense for a little over 6 years. And we have been big advocates for it because it made our lives much safer. And from an administrative perspective, made our jobs a whole lot easier. So it's been a fantastic software to use and a fantastic company to work for.
Awesome. Thanks for that, gentlemen. Well, good stuff. Well, let's get into it here. So before we dive full into talking about exactly what DroneSense is and giving you a full overview, let's talk about some of the challenges in traditional public safety methods. And I'd love to kind of walk through each of these, and either of you guys can talk through some of them. So let's talk about, like, immediately the limited reach and visibility. Bill, what do you think?
Coitt, you want to go first, and I'll tag team?
Yeah, sure. So limited reach and visibility. I mean, we've coming from the, I love to say this is, not everybody in our world can have a helicopter or a plane, and but really all of our organizations can afford a drone, and getting that having that vantage point is incredible. So if you're unable to again have a crewed aviation program, you can have an uncrewed aviation program today, and it's and we call this public safety aviation. So having that, we do have reach now, we do have visibility, we do have the ability to gain all that information in at real time and get that back to the incident commander, which is, again, this is something that this is a new big deal for us.
Yeah, to Coit's point, from the limited reach side of the house, I mean, traditionally law enforcement, we just got to go and do boots on the ground and go and look, right? And there's a lot of dangers that are associated with that. There's some places we just can't go, whether that's from a constitutional perspective or from a danger perspective, right? And so utilizing these drones not only allows us to get into those different areas, whether by legally or by safely, but also gives us a lot better vantage point to get better visibility into the event that we're going to respond to.
So delayed response times. This is an interesting one, gentlemen.
I'm going to pitch that one right to Brandon, Joe.
All right, BK.
You guys, the king for this.
Yeah, well, our response times are fantastic as we're first responders compared to the second responders. But the delayed response time, utilizing drones enhances things quite a bit, especially in the new world of drone as first responder, right? We're traditionally 911 call drops. We have to fight traffic, hope we don't get crashed into on the way there, or some grandma sees the lights flashing behind their eyes and then slams on the brakes in the lane that she's in and have to go around all of them. So the traditional method of getting to the call for service is difficult, whether that's by call for service volume, we're already on more higher priority calls or whatnot. But drone as first responders allows us to launch a drone that's pre-positioned anywhere in the city and be able to fly that to the call for service. Generally speaking, we're able to beat the officer there or the first responder there over 70% of the time, and typically multiple minutes in advance. So it definitely helps with some of the stuff we're going to talk about here in a little bit with resource constraints. It allows us to be able to choose on resource allocation. Do we need more people? Do we not need more people? It also helps us coordinate for tactics as well. So we can de-escalate if we don't need to be running lights and sirens across the city. We can de-escalate that so that we're not doing that. It also allows us to be able to come up with tactics on how we're going to respond to that structure fire or respond to that person in crisis.
Nice. Coitt, resource constraints.
Man, I'm actually going to pitch the ball right back to Brandon again because resource constraints. Well, and the reason I say this,
but I also like that the two of you work together on this in the very beginning.
Oh yeah. I'm going to follow up. I'm going to follow up on this, but I'm looking at risk to personnel and lack of resources. The reason I mentioned Brandon is that the DFR piece, the drone as a first responder, and what he was where he was going with being able to use this drone to be able to come over and triage, right, and be able to figure out what's going on. He just said the number. I think he was like 70% of the time.
Yeah.
Holy cow, man, Brandon. So I mean, it's yours, buddy. I'll follow up with you on this one, but I know where you're going with all this.
Yeah, no, the resource constraints out of the house is huge. I mean, even if from a not DFR perspective, right? Like, let's say we got a missing kid that's lost in the woods. Instead of having to put, people every 6 feet out and then walking the search and rescue line, we can search that area with a drone and be able to put all those officers or other first responders back in service, right? It also allows us to be able to determine, do we need more people or not, right? So like going back to, let's say you have a crash on the highway, that's a massive pain in the butt to get to, no matter how you cut it. Unless it's like 2 o'clock in the morning and there's no one on the highway, it's a pain. So you get the drone in the air, you go and validate where that crash is, and we get to say, like, yeah, we need to shut down the intersection. We need to shut down the on-ramp. We need to shut down the entire highway, right? Call out that $1 million traffic cone or $2 million traffic cone now, and get them to go and block off the highways. Resource allocations or resource constraints allow us to determine, do we need more or can we get by with less by utilizing these drones and having that better situation awareness and better information.
Joe, I'll
All right, Coitt.
yeah, I'm going to run right
Go
into
ahead.
to personnel, if that's okay.
Great.
So, we were talking about, I was just looking at that first bullet, limited reach and visibility. So in my previous life, I was the guy on the tip of the aerial, right on top of that ladder, because we only had 105 feet that we were able to stand on top of, to look out into, to look at wherever we needed to get the water to go, right, the master streams to go. But that also put me in a bad spot. I had to be on the tip of the aerial, right? And I had to have a lot of smoke coming through, hitting me. I had to put myself in different situations that when I could put a piece of plastic in the air and replace me, or help augment me, help make it safer, faster, more efficient, because I can get a piece of plastic in the air like that just cuts back the risk to personnel. If we can put this piece of plastic between us in a bad environment, or us and a bad guy, winning all day long. And so, I think anytime we can again maximize this technology to help preserve us and save us, we're going the right direction. And the lack of resources, I mentioned public safety aviation. Who can afford a helicopter? Well, that's a big one. But we can afford a drone program, and it's an easy win for us. Brandon or Joe, communication and coordination.
Mm-hmm.
Guys, I think the what we can do now, and especially with this software, and again, I'm going to talk about hardware and software. Hardware allows us to get an image. Hardware allows us to take that and use it with us standing there, but the software allows us to pull it all together. The software allows, Brandon over in Pearland and me in Austin, it allows us to coordinate together with all of our homies all over the state during a disaster response. It allows us to communicate, so we're not driving up the radios. We don't have to run the phone so much, because we can do this through the visualization that we're gathering from these drones and sending back out, so our decision makers can have good information to make good, timely decisions. So it's I don't know. I can't understand why you wouldn't want to do this. Excellent.
Well, good stuff. I'm glad we've identified some of the challenges now in traditional public safety methods, and thank you, gentlemen, for both walking through that. Let's kind of dive into the next one here. So I know the need for drones in public safety. We've got a whole bunch of different ideas and concepts, all the way to shark sightings. Curious if any of these kind of stand out that we can kind of talk through a little bit at this moment with both of your personal experience and expertise.
B, you want to jump on some of those?
I want to do some shark sightings. It's the only one on this list I haven't done. Like, in that shark sighting sounds like a lot of fun.
I'll ring on that one. So FDNY, NYPD, in New York City's Office of Emergency Management, today, like right now, as we're talking, are out on
June
the
3rd.
Yeah, they're doing it right now. And they're out running, and they're looking for sharks, and they're finding sharks. While they're actually looking for sharks, they're also seeing people that are getting pulled out in the riptides. While they're seeing people being pulled out in the riptides and they're seeing the sharks, they're also able to see what's going on the beach, right? Because they have situational awareness of where all the gatherings are. While all this is going on, they're able to actually gather a ton of information and make good decisions. Plus, and this is the big plus, you take that and you give that to a biologist.
Mm-hmm.
You give that to the conservationist. You give that information. It's just information. You give that information to other people that can do other good things with this. That one piece of plastic that's in the air with great software that can get the information back out is doing all kinds of work just on shark sightings.
Yeah, and to touch on Coit's point about like being able to provide information out, right? Like going from the shark sightings and looking at city mapping and disaster response. Something that we do a lot down here in the Gulf Coast region is beach mapping to figure out, is the storm surge still going to go down the same track that it's always going down, or is there a new washout that we're not paying attention to? And then they map that area, right? And then they figure out, what does the elevation model look like, and where is the new flooding going to go, so that we can plan better for the next disaster response and recovery for storm surge or the hurricane response that we may end up getting. So a lot of these do go very hand in hand, right? We've just off of talking on just shark sightings, we've hit disaster response, city mapping, wildlife management, right? And potentially big event and crowd control as well, especially if you have a really big beach event. So there's a lot of these things that go hand in hand and in tandem that all get hit at the same time.
It's just this giant situational awareness that, I mean, it just expands, and you wouldn't know unless you're up there in the air, that piece of plastic, right?
Joe, the big events, I see that on here, the big events. So when we're looking at drones and big events, I got a lot of love for Brandon. Just looking at him, running a large event and coordinating these different groups, because we're not just talking about the police officers, not just talking about the firefighters. We're talking about everybody working together for an event and being able to take that drone and take that imaging back to command so they can make decisions. Brandon and I were able to make it out to a Super Bowl, and it's not just the drone images, but it's also taking the images from the drone detection equipment, right? So we understand who else is in the airspace and making good decisions from that. We've done a lot of large events in the state, and we just got back from the Indy 500, and it was really great to see, like, all right, when you are flying in an airspace, who doesn't belong there? Who is going to create an issue for you? So not only the offensive side, but the defensive side of this whole thing. And then again, to the point is getting that information out to all the parties, not just one or two groups, but all the parties.
Right.
Excellent. Well, good stuff. Now, let's scoot to the next slide here. Now, I know kind of what we're talking about here. Now, we're both of you are describing this new era of public safety and where we're going with this, bird in the air, piece of plastic, camera, remote sensor, all of these. It's becoming this multiple faceted thing. Let's kind of talk through a couple of these at this moment with this enhanced operations and advanced drone technology that's being literally changing by the weekly right now. So as we work to give you a full overview of DroneSense, let's talk about a few of these. So mission planning, execution. Let's say Brandon.
Yeah. So one of the great things I got to learn from the firefighters is how to properly mission plan, right? Because one of the fatal flaws that law enforcement has is we hut right into things, right? We like being those blue canaries. The mission planning and execution side of the house is huge, utilizing DroneSense. And the big benefit of it is you can build out those operations plan, whether that's a SWAT event, a Super Bowl, or anything in between, right? Community event, whatever. You can build out those mission plans and those ops plans. What's awesome about it is everybody flying in the mission, whether it's Pearland and then we ask Austin Fire to come up and support us. We share that 6-digit alphanumeric, and now they can see our ops plan, right? So now everybody understands, all right, Austin Fire, they got Quadrant Alpha Bravo, Pearland, they're in Charlie Delta. Or if we need to say, hey, we got that lost kids over by the Tito's Vodka stage, we need everybody to go and start looking there, right? Or lost parent, as it typically is. We know exactly where they got to go. And that not only translates from the remote side of the house for the people flying drones, but also on cell phones, right? Like if they get in with Copilot, they get in with MSAT, they get in with anything, it merges situational awareness for not only aircraft, but also for ground personnel. Also with the situation awareness that you get to have from that shared mission code, you can see all the telemetry of Austin Fire and Pearlands. Everybody can see where everybody is. We can deconflict the airspace and not have plastic on plastic. So it really helps enhance the situational awareness. From a rapid deployment side of the house, it allows us to see who's up, who's down, or who's ready, what teams have drones on standby, and things of that nature. The cost-effective support, it enhances our situational awareness, and therefore it enhances our ability to respond, which cuts back on just having drones in the air and just burning batteries, which means we're buying batteries sooner than we should be. Or, hey, we're fatiguing our officers, we're fatiguing our firefighters on them just looking at a monitor, not doing anything, because they shouldn't be in the airspace in the first place. Improve situation safety for personnel. Again, that situational awareness, we can see where everybody is. Do they need help? Do they not need help? Here in Texas, Right now it's 95 degrees outside, and that's just the heat. That's not including heat index. So like if we got people on rooftops, we really got to watch them. It's one of the reasons I went fully beyond visual line of sight on my DFR program, because my visual observers would die. So it definitely helps with all enhancing everything, which every single bullet point on the left, all of those things apply on the right. And you could tie each one of those. Coitt?
I'm happy to actually, I'm glad I got these last couple ones, because I'm pretty excited about sharing this. Guys, I got to see DroneSense from the very beginning. And that was sitting down in front of a whiteboard and looking at all of our problems that we have in public safety. And our CEO is he's a crude aviation pilot. I mean, he's instrument rated. Like he is, when we were talking about the issues that we were having with tracking hours on personnel, like I need to know how many flight hours. He's like, well, let's talk about maintenance and how often you have to what you have to track on your equipment. Because on the aviation side of the house, coming from safety, the aviation safety mindset, right? Safety culture. And guys, anybody that's listening to this, we're talking about public safety aviation. Just use that word from here on out. Public safety aviation. When we're talking about aviation, it's safety, 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 safety. So as we were writing all this up on the board, the CEO was like, man, guys, we're going to have to track cycles on batteries. We're going to have to track cycles on airframes, not only your hours, right? And then when we're talking about as a public safety person, and Brandon and I are coming from open records request. What happens when Mr. and Mrs. Smith says, hey, you were over our backyard and we saw your drone there? Okay, let's rewind the tape and let's look at our telemetry. We record all the telemetry. We can show you exactly where we're at, what the camera angle was, where we were pointed, how long we were there. Well, all of that got figured into that whiteboard when DroneSense was being designed. Is we have to be able to protect ourselves while we're protecting the public that we're serving, right? And this is a very integral part of our, as you're seeing here, fleet management, complete system of reporting. Is we have to be able to show those that pay for public safety to operate. We have to be able to show them what we're doing. We have to be transparent. And when you have more than 2 or 3 pilots and you're using Excel hell, then you better get a system that can track everybody together and be able to show you when their Part 107 certificates are coming up, right? You got to be able to show how many hours they've been flying, when the last time they were flying. I need to make sure my guys have been operating. So again, looking at all this in the website of our software, in the program management piece, is if you are going to run a program, not have a drone project, but if you're going to have a drone program, then you better be thinking about the management of your program and your people. That's it. Mike, drop. Go.
Well, excellent, gentlemen. Well, hey, thank you so much for walking through these. And this is it sounds like it's time to share what the answer is to these challenges. Let's talk about DroneSense. Now, this is going to be an overview of DroneSense. I'm excited to share this with you.
DroneSense is the most comprehensive, public safety-focused drone operations management, situation awareness, and collaboration platform on the market today. Our application is an all-encompassing pilot application for any type of public safety response, ranging from training to dynamic incident response and disaster response and recovery operations. The pilot app can support air, land, and sea operations, and this support includes crewed aviation, uncrewed, blue and non-blue drones, ground-level first responders, and robotics, and of course, submersibles. DroneSense is also a standalone application that does not require the use of UAS manufacturers' native applications to operate the drone per CISA recommendations. We also offer a single point of situational awareness for major incident coordination for response and recovery of any public safety incident, with the ability to create or ingest operations plans in our system called Operations Hub. We have unlimited streaming ingestion for live feed and telemetry for air, land, and sea assets, as well as personnel. This allows you to ensure 720 degrees of situational awareness for any public safety response you may be coordinating or running as incident commander. The ability to push those feeds to both credential and non-credentialed first responders is also available to you, so that you can make sure all of the people responding to your major incident have the situational awareness of all of those assets in one nice location. We also offer DroneSense Remote, which enables drone as first responder operations by offering the ability to fly a drone remotely from anywhere. DroneSense Remote also provides the ability to fly DJI Dock 1 and Dock 2, with more dock integrations coming. DroneSense Remote also provides the ability to have a publicly facing dashboard for transparency and ongoing DFR support for your community. We also offer an administration hub, and in DroneSense Airbase, we ensure the public safety drone programs have all of their data accessible to them to ensure a healthy and successful drone program. Our system automatically tracks all flights, hardware, and personnel, and we offer advanced reporting capabilities to highlight your drone program wins and also be able to meet those regulatory requirements provided from the FAA. Also, security is top of mind when it comes to DroneSense. The DroneSense platform enforces an end-to-end encrypted control and communications network link between the drone controller and mobile device, the DroneSense mobile app, and the DroneSense cloud application. The DroneSense cloud applications and infrastructure are SOC 2 Type 2 certified annually, meaning DroneSense has maintained continuously effective technical controls to safeguard the confidentiality, integrity, and ability of the cloud application, infrastructure, and data. We are also, again, SOC 2 Type 2 certified, with private cloud and on-prem solutions also available to you if those are some of the options that your agency is requiring. We also offer 24/7 USA-based support for any type of questions that you may have or in the field events that you're trying to manage. If you're looking to take your drone program to the next level, reach out to us today and let's get your agency on a trial of the program. Hope to see you soon.
Awesome. Well, good stuff. Now that you know what DroneSense is, that's amazing. So now I kind of want to open up a little bit here and give each of our subject matter experts a moment to talk about the programs that they built in real time. So this one, as you can see, you probably recognize this shot and some of this from a lot of promotional stuff and so on. You get to see BK right there. So Brandon Karr, will you tell us a bit about Pearland?
Yeah, I muted it just so the audio.
Brandon Karr. No, you're good. All right. Awesome. Well, good stuff, folks. Hey, so now that we know what DroneSense is, so let's kind of talk about some of the immediate use, like actually in field, in use by some of these subject matter experts. So Brandon Karr, as you can see here in this photo, you might recognize some of his some promotional stuff right here. But Brandon, can you tell us about Pearland and about this program you built up?
Yeah, absolutely. So you may notice I'm the one on the right, not the one on the left. I get confused with the guy on the left a whole lot. I got an internal investigation on my board that says that as well. But yeah, our program started back in 2017. We had an autistic juvenile go missing. Unfortunately, just like with a lot of programs across the nation, our program was founded in tragedy. That autistic juvenile did end up finding a lake, as they do, and unfortunately he drowned. Back then we had a lieutenant at the time write up a proposal that said, hey, had we had drones, we potentially could have saved this kid's life. I was on patrol that night. I was on patrol one night going through old proposals and whatnot, and I happened to find the drone one. I said, you know what? I have a background in aviation. I'm a former certified flight instructor, single engine, multi instrument ratings. Like, I know the FAA stuff. I know how this stuff works pretty well. Let's see if Chief will let me run with that. And so I asked, and Chief said, absolutely, go nuts. And so I asked our IT division, who I knew had purchased drones, be like, hey guys, y'all got drones. Can I see these things? And they're like, well, we've crashed 2 Phantoms. We have 2 Mavic Pros that are in boxes that we haven't touched because we crashed the Phantoms. And we also have a fully kitted M210 RTK with all the bells and whistles. And they're like, we can't get that one to take off. And so, again, reaching out to guys like Coitt back then, I'm like, hey, we got a whole lot of drones that won't take off. The only drone experience that I have is in Battlefield and Call of Duty. Like I need some help. And so reached out to Facebook groups, reached out to Coitt and Jason Day, and was like, help me get it right. And they were gracious enough to say, come on, dumb cop, let's make this happen for you. And so they did. And we were able to get our program to take flight, pun intended. So we got some really great training in. I learned about the combined stick command the hard way, just flying around in a drone, and turns out you can turn those motors off in the air. But we came full circle. Our very first live deployment was another individual who was autistic who left his group home, and we were able to find him within 30 minutes of a call out. So that was a massive win for us. It was proof of concept immediately on how our program started. From that, we got massive amount of buy-in on it from the patrol-led side. We started from there. We integrated that into, after that, we went into crash crime scene reconstruction. Then we built that into our undercover stuff. Then finally SWAT. SWAT was one of the last ones to buy in, which was interesting, as a lot of programs start at SWAT, which is also good. It's the route we went. And then back in 2020, I was like, well, all right, well, what's next? Like, how can we make this bigger and better? So I started working on getting all the other divisions drone programs, fire EMS, GIS communications. They all got stood up. We started doing that digital twin city mapping side of the house with utilizing DroneSense. We would map out all of our schools exterior. And then I would go in with a LiDAR scanner and map out the interior, especially after Uvalde. So a lot of good opportunities there in utilizing drones from a disaster planning perspective. And then we built out Drone as First Responder. Again, we have the only fully beyond visual line of sight Drone as First Responder waiver in the nation today. So we use technology to scan the airspace for compliant and non-compliant aircraft with ADS-B, and we're using DroneSense to launch those drones from docks that are strategically positioned across our 50 square miles in my city, Class Bravo airspace to the surface. So it's a lot of fun. That's apparently in a nutshell.
Wow. Man, absolutely incredible. Thanks for diving into that, Brandon. That's great. And I mean, it's now becoming just a beacon in like the whole industry. And your phone is never like on the hook, man. You're always answering calls on this and such. So it's really exciting to see that and kind of in some way be a part of that, bringing that to DroneSense. Well, next, let's talk about Coitt Kessler and Austin Fire. And actually, I have to preface this. I'm sorry, Coitt. I couldn't load in that photo of you from the fireman, calendar photo and such, shirtless. I had to put this like stock image, but yeah, I'm sure you can go into that. So, the floor is yours.
Thanks, man. A little bit about our program. So we started back in 2014. We started early. It was so early that we had to have licensed pilots, just like Brandon, and we had 4 of them on our team. But we had to have licensed pilots on the sticks, because who would know better how to fly a drone than a licensed pilot? And that was really interesting, right? Is we started from we were at the very beginning. In fact, really proud of this is our team was able to receive the first certificate of authorization for a metro department in the U.S. So that was because I had a version of Brandon. His name was Andy, and he was just like Brandon, instrument rated multi-engine pilot, and he was able to speak to the FAA and with the FAA, right? And so we started very early on with getting into the national airspace and trying to figure out what was working and what wasn't. And back in 2014, folks, there wasn't a lot working. It was still very manually driven, right? We just didn't have the technology, but we all knew the technology was coming. So when you see something like this happening, the plan should be okay, this is going to get here. So what do we need to do to maximize it when it arrives? And that means you got to get your people trained. You got to get policies in place. If you're going to be responding to emergency calls, you better be in the dispatch system. You better be working on succession planning, because you're not going to be there all the rest of your life, right? And so the time that I was in, I got to see a lot of really cool things, man. We got to work with ground robots, got to work with robots that were on top of the water, robots that were under the water, and then we got to really focus on the aerial side of the game, and got to see what it would take to take a drone, a project, right, is figuring out what we knew was coming and then how to build that into an actual program, a public safety aviation program. And that is, that is where the Austin Fire Department's at today. We're in the CAD system, so which means a computer aided dispatch. That just is when the tone goes off, when you call 911 and they send a truck out, that just means that we have a place for us to go. There's the radio traffic at the call text says this is where you're going to go. Well, if we have certain call types, say a large structure fire, a drone will roll out that way on a truck, and then another operator will come and meet that person, and then they take the drone off, and then they go and work, right? And that's where the Austin Fire Department is today, and I couldn't be more proud of that. And what's really neat about this is that when we show up to go to an event, other people can show up and all work together. And that's the beautiful part of DroneSense. That's the beautiful part of public safety, is that we don't isolate ourselves. I show up and I have PD there, man, we get down immediately. We share a mission code and we are on the same team. It is the same team. These stupid pieces of plastic, I always say, bring everybody together. It's whenever we show up, we can all share a mission code and all work together. And that's where we're at now in 2024, is interoperability and building a much larger team to take care of those that we serve.
That's awesome. Coitt, thank you so much for walking through that. And I mean, just seeing stuff on this end, I mean, it's incredible. Now, something you hit on there, and I would love for you guys to talk just even a little bit more, is something we call magic video link, and we call collaboration between agencies and such, and like what you were just mentioning, all working on the same team, SAR, fire, law enforcement, everything. Can you talk a little bit more about that, both of you?
B?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing that Coitt was saying is being able to merge those two teams together. There's a lot of agencies across the nation that are like police and fire, and they are fighting all the time. And I've never understood that. Yeah. But like coming into the drone world, it's almost like it's that constant, like, hey, here's the safe space, guys. Let's all come together and let's all have fun. And it's weird because it's not just like police and fire and mending that bridge, but it's also for like what I like to call agency kingdoms, where there are agencies that just don't play well with others. Like they don't want to call in help. They won't want to train with anybody else, but like drones help mend that fence, and it like help open up the communication pathways to say, hey guys, like you got drones, I got drones. Let's all fly together. Let's get ready for that major incident. Let's get ready for that next hurricane. Let's get ready for that next major fire, that next officer involved shooting, whatever it is, right? And for whatever reason, these pieces of plastic, people are like, hell yeah, let's do it. Let's get together, you know? And so it's really nice to see that these systems do help bridge that gap of, hey, we're all on the same team, trying to make sure everybody goes home together at the same time.
Yeah. I mean, in a good example of how that can work is, as Joe brought up this thing called the magic video link, is we show up on scene, like literally, I can take this controller or this phone and I can walk over to the operator that's on the aerial and say, hey man, I need you to direct your stream down here. And you can talk to him like, oh, okay, I kind of get what you're saying. Or you could say, here, I need you to scan this QR code, pull that phone that you have in your pocket, because you guys all have supercomputers in your pocket. I want you to scan this QR code. I want you to put this up on the turntable so you can actually see where you're driving that water into and make a difference, not just running the water off the roof line, right? Or I can come over to my homies on the PD side, and I can say, hey, LT, I know you got some guys that are going around on that Charlie side of the structure. Hey, you want to see what it looks like? Or maybe PD is busy doing the PD work and they need some extra help. So I can we can put our piece of plastic in that space, right, and help operate for them the way that they do for us all the time whenever we're out doing firefighting stuff. And all we have to do is share that code. It can be sent, it can be automatically sent to somebody. So like when we go out, I told you we're in the computer aided dispatch, the CAD system. Joe, when we go out the door, when we get that tone at certain calls, that QR code that everybody can see automatically gets sent to the chiefs. It automatically gets sent to the captains. It automatically gets sent to the lieutenants. It is already there. So as they're responding, they can look and say, okay, this is what I got going on here. So it's not only something that we can, the magic video link, something we can share while we're on scene, but it's something they can see well ahead of the time as we're responding.
Yeah, to Coit's point, I got 2 stories on that one. From there was a wildfire burn right at the end of the runway for Hobby International Airport a couple years back, and Uber got sent out to that one. It got out there late. It was considered a Houston level wildfire, but they had the brush trucks out there and everything trying to put the fire out on that one. They're like, yeah, we think we got this pretty well contained. We just need to make sure that everything's good. And so we put the drone up and took a look. It was not contained. So Uber's like, well, this is still a very live fire. They're like, no, we got it out. You're like, well, here's the magic video link. You can watch it on your own. And they're like, we need you to move the wet stuff, put it on the hot stuff over here to help get that wildfire out. And we were able to help make that happen. And then the other one, to Coit's point, especially when it comes to those magic video links and those going to a special web link, our dispatch has the link for every different type of call for service. And depending on how we get dispatched out to that, they know that the video link's going to come through on this web link, and they'll put that in the call notes. So everybody on duty can see what the drone can and cannot do. Helps with departmental trust, helps with departmental buy-in, because they can see the wins right there.
Solid.
Yeah, I mean, you guys are really talking about the sense and DroneSense here, and like how it's this magic video link. I mean, hey, reach out to us. We'll be able to explain more, but awesome. Thanks so much. Now speaking of pieces of plastic in the sky and such and so on, talk about just a little bit something here. They're not just pieces of plastic. There are these incredible, wildly high technology pieces that are just growing exponentially, and it's really exciting with the industry that we're in. But one of that points is that at DroneSense we're very drone omniscient, and like we looking at all different kinds. And with this, we're constantly looking for what the next best thing is and finding the next integration, and always exploring that. So with Safeware today, we'd really like to, in real time, share with you a premiere of one of our newest integrations. And being that Safeware has a great relationship with them too, this is a perfect pairing. All right, well, good stuff. Well, now that you know, now we have this excellent integration with Skydio. Really exciting to explore that, and just like we were mentioning before, it's all different kinds of drone and ROV and quadruped and anything out there that and so on that we bring in. But not only that, it's also all sorts of software integrations that are coming in from Real Time Crime Center, from Fusus, to all sorts of stuff that we're looking into. Just keep looking out. We have more coming your way. So again, tagline here, ready to enhance your operations. Please reach out to us. Otherwise, this is a great time to reach out to your representative here at Safeware to understand more. And we're just really, really excited to explore this partnership and just amplify this. So at this moment, it's kind of our close of the webinar, but I would love to any closing statements from you gentlemen that you'd like to say about DroneSense, Safeware, and the future.
Brandon, can I jump in that real quick?
Yeah, go for it, bud.
Team. Team. That's the word. Team. We're talking about working with Safeware. Team. We're talking about drones working with drones. Team. We're talking about drones, uncrewed and crewed working together. Team. We're talking about all this working together. It doesn't happen without a team. You don't have great software if you don't have great hardware, right? I mean, you can be really good at certain things, but I challenge you to be really good at everything. It has to happen being a team. And we can go far, we can go so much further, so much faster if we work together as a team. You guys out there on the public safety side listening to this, reach out to us, please, because this is about a team. It's about us coming together and sharing what we have with you. It's about us being able to tie you in with companies like Safeware, because it's a team effort, right? We're unable to do all this ourselves. We can't. We don't want to. We can't. But as a team, we can lift everybody up together, and that is what this is all about. So that's the one thing I wanted to throw out there, Joe. It's just team. I'm so glad to be on this team. I'm so glad to be working with our partners from Safeware. I'm so glad to have all the great people that we work with side by side and help out daily. It's all about us working as a team.
Well said.
Yeah, Coitt, I couldn't have said it better myself. The one thing I want to add to what Coitt said is, for all you public safety agencies that are out there today that are listening to this webinar, talk to your neighbor, see if they have a drone program, and make a fly day. Get out there, train together, learn what best practices they have and what works for your team and what doesn't work for your team, so y'all all can learn together. The more and more y'all fly together, the more and more y'all are all going to be successful. With more success comes bigger programs and better equipment and better futures and better safety. So yeah, I could not have said it better myself, Coitt. Outstanding point on making sure everybody is working together as a team.
Solid.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, gentlemen. Thank you, Safeware, for letting us have this time to share with everyone today. And again, thank you, Coitt Kessler. Thank you, Brandon Karr. Thanks, everyone, for being here. Have a wonderful day. Take care.
Go team.
Go team.